seasons at the club, a Premier League title, and unfortunately some tough records to his name as well. Arne Slot will be leaving Liverpool by mutual consent, and his replacement is already lined up in Iraola from Bournemouth. Now, before I get into it, I just want to say, genuinely as a Liverpool fan, I am grateful for Arne Slot. He delivered one of the most important and one of the best nights and days of my life as a Liverpool fan with the Premier League in his first season. It was a breakaway from what we had experienced on the club. There was control, there was a calmness, there was a collectiveness from the coaching side of things, and we were able to bring home a Premier League trophy. Of course, the incredible season of Mohamed Salah is a massive factor in that, but the incredible performances, Real Madrid, Leverkusen, Manchester United, these dominant displays came from an Arne Slot side, and I just want to say that as a Liverpool fan, I am grateful for that. However, circumstances throughout this season, both caused from management, coaching, as well as some factors which you truly cannot account for, has led this to be a very disastrous season for Liverpool. And it's just one where ultimately, whether you're a fan of Liverpool or you're a fan of Slot, or whether you're just a fan of football in general, it's become a situation that feels untenable. There is no cohesion in the fan base, or there certainly wasn't before about an hour or so ago. Now, the announcement of Slot leaving does come as a surprise. Why? Because the media outlets around have all been saying that there will be a review at the end of the season, and it looked likely that a coach that Slot had wanted for a long time was getting ready to join. However, a friend of mine did point out in every single press release, there seemed to be this caveat of if Slot continues. So there had never really been this confirmation, but now we have it. And Arne Slot, after delivering the Premier League title and after a very difficult season, will be parting ways, which then brings on to the focus of this video. The next chapter at Liverpool. What is next for Liverpool? I spoke a lot in recent videos about clarity, about the need to understand where Liverpool are going with Edwards, Hughes, Slot, Konate, Van Dijk, Alisson all being in the last year of their contract. Well, in the last couple of days, we found out Konate is leaving. We have had the confirmation that Arne Slot is gone. There's a few players left to know the truth from, to know the future of, but where we stand now is a little bit clearer than we were a few days ago, and I imagine that we're going to have a lot more clarity as the days go on. Now, in the press release announcing Slot's departure, something that was noted was the need to get back to aggressive football. I think this is the ownership and the sporting director's response to the fan reaction this season. A lot of talk about identity has been put forward by fans, by players, and by pundits alike, not always well received. However, it does seem to be a conversation that's being had, and I do think that the next manager, which will be Iraola, will certainly bring that back. Listen, it's been a very difficult couple of weeks for Liverpool. They've said goodbye to two legends. They're saying goodbye to a player who's been fantastic for Liverpool at the back for the last 5 years, albeit slightly inconsistent. So it's been a lot of people leaving. It's been a lot of closing of a chapter. Now Liverpool can look at a new chapter, and that is what this is. This is a new chapter. It's getting back to formula, to quote Spider-Man. In a way, that is what Liverpool are doing. For me, and I've said this multiple times, I've been very consistent on this before the links to Liverpool, I think Iraola is a brilliant manager. I think the way they play is fantastic. It is a great pressing. When I think of Iraola, I think great pressing. I think quick football. I think footballers with intent when in possession. And off the ball, intent, aggression. Mohamed Salah got criticised and got praised for his post about Liverpool's identity and not losing that. Well, what is Liverpool's identity? I've said this in many videos before. It's aggression, it's passion. And I think Iraola is going to implement that within the side. And ultimately, I think Arne Slot will do very well in his career post-Liverpool. He can leave with his head high. He delivered a Premier League title. We're thankful for that. And him leaving now will save his legacy than spending 3-4 months under constant scrutiny by a fan base that are not attached to his football. I think this will do Arne Slot just as much benefit as it will do Liverpool. You think about Bournemouth as well this season. They lost all of their star players in the summer, other than Semenyo. They start brilliantly. They had a brilliant half of the season. They get to January. They lose their best player. They bring in Ryan. What happens second half of the season? They go on a long unbeaten run. Bournemouth almost, with respect to Bournemouth, I mean this with respect, they almost had no right to be where they were, given the circumstances around the club. But that was brought forward by a coach and his philosophy and his identity, which was implemented on the players. I think his personality is one that Liverpool fans will attach to very quickly. I'm very interested to see what players Iraola prioritizes at Liverpool. I'm really curious to see what players that are currently in the squad Iraola attaches himself to in that respect. I think Gravenberch, Maka, Jones are the types of players that Iraola will love, but he will want to supplement them with an aggressive midfielder, someone who can break up play. I think he's going to love working with Kirkes again. I think Kirkes is going to love working with him again. I look at our front line. He's going to give opportunities to young players because he certainly has done that throughout his time at Bournemouth. I'm curious to see how he looks to form this Liverpool side. The players that have been touted as leaving Liverpool this summer, I wonder if there will be a change of conversation now. Will Jones, who's not been selected for the England team, bear in mind, will he go, you know what, I'm going to be here for this pre-season. Maybe that intertalk will quiet down. Maybe not. Maybe his mind's already set. And if that's so, then that is so. I think Van Dijk, who looked like he was terrified of the future when he was on that pitch at the end. He looked so distraught. He looked so sad. The closing of this chapter, of this very successful chapter under Klopp and the successful chapter under Slot as well. Don't get it twisted. A Premier League title is nothing to snub your nose at. But we've lost so many leaders in such a short period of time. What can Iraola do to give these players a new lease of life? I tell you, one player I think is going to be exceptional under Iraola. One player I think will be absolutely exceptional is Wirtz. And the reason I think Wirtz will be very successful is because of the brand of football Iraola plays. It isn't slow, tentative build-up, not to discredit Slot, but I do think with the way that Bournemouth play, Wirtz will have more space. Wirtz will have more confidence. I think that will go for all the players. I think they will thoroughly enjoy working under Iraola. And one thing that I think has been commented from Salah, from Van Dijk, from Jones, from McAllister in interviews is that, and Slot himself in interviews, has been the need for players to understand that quality isn't enough to succeed at Liverpool. You need intent. At Liverpool, you've got to show that you're willing to run for 95 minutes and you're willing to give blood, sweat, tears for this club. That is what the legends at this club have done. That's what the world-class players at this club have done for many, many years. I think Iraola is going to bring that. And I think for those who are worried about Liverpool falling down the Sir Alex Ferguson route, post-Sir Alex Ferguson, or a post-Arsene Wenger, I would say that we've had our Unai Emery at Arsenal, where we've had a quality manager who was just too ajar from what we were used to in terms of stylistically, in terms of personality. We've had that now, and now we're moving on to the next phase where they brought in Arteta. Now, Arteta is successful at Arsenal. That can now be said, absolutely. I don't think we'll have to wait 7 years for success under Iraola at all. Now, the question will be recruitment, because the style of play is one thing. The coach being liked by the fans is a massive help. I do think the fan base are going to take to Iraola very well. What next is the recruitment around that? Because we have young players, we have young talent. Bring him the quality. I think the quality is there, but it needs to be added to. It needs to be replenished. A strong summer, not a summer where we go spend 200, 300, 400 million on 3-4 players, but a summer where you go spend 150, 200 million on 5 or 6 players who will improve the squad. But listen, I think this is very good news. After a week or couple of weeks of very difficult news for Liverpool fans, I think this is a good piece of news. Wherever you stand with Liverpool, I think we can agree this is the start of a new chapter, both culturally, both for the players, for the fans. This is the start of a new chapter, and I'm very excited for what it could bring. I think optimism will start to spark around the fans now. Hopefully we can get some unity and some positivity coming out the club as well. And hopefully we can get some clarity on what is happening going forward with the likes of Van Dijk and Alisson and Curtis Jones.